Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about a bunch of cool stuff and potentially some stuff that you could apply in your own training, including how to make use of high frequency benching, high frequency upper body work generally, talking about reps in reserve, and talking about full body workouts and how my training is going generally. Firstly, the session you are seeing right now is the second session of 3 sessions in the week, and it's long pause bench. Holding these for just 1 Mississippi. Whenever I include pause or tempo variations, I find it really carries over well to my main bench variation because it really helps hone in my bar path and my positional strength. I did these with a little less weight each set so I could keep the same effort level across all of the sets. As the weeks go by, I'll be reducing the number of times that the weight is reduced as a form of progression. The first session of this new full body training split involved a 4x4 on the normal pause bench, which is going to be the main variation. The low reps with moderate sets is going to help me get really comfortable moving heavier weights and still be relevant to building muscle. On the last training day of the week, I'll be doing close grip bench to pins, which will help build my ability to grind through reps, further hone my bar path, and build more tricep strength throughout the lift. Having these 3 variations allow me to present different kinds of overload: intensity with the main variation, rep quality and workload with the long pause, and joint angle specific strength with the pin bench. One of the great things about the bench press is that, provided you are keeping it reasonably specific to your main lift, there are lots of variations you can use in high frequency bench programming to keep novelty high and exploit the different developmental aspects to become a well-rounded presser. The increased frequency of this program is something I figured I would exploit on account of moving to full body 3 times a week for this routine. I've been doing upper-lower 4 to 5 days a week for over a year, and frankly I just want to change up, as well as spending a little less time in the gym during the busy end of the school year. I also just came off a 12-week block where I trained my high bar back squat really hard and set a lot of new PRs across various rep ranges, so I'm really not in the mood for legs at the moment. One of the benefits to how I currently have my full body program written out is that I am essentially just doing 3 upper body days a week, which will also allow me to benefit from more frequent muscle protein synthesis in my upper body. This, combined with putting quads on the back burner, means that I occasionally have a quad movement, but mostly just a lot of hamstrings, which are a muscle I actually enjoy training. You'll notice that throughout the session, it's essentially going to be upper body, except for 3 sets of lunges done closer to the end of the workout. It looks pretty similar during the other sessions. A new thing which I am internalizing into my training is being more mindful of leaving reps in reserve on various movements. It isn't rocket science, but leaving RIR means you'll be able to build momentum with particular lifts by giving yourself space to grow rather than going to failure for every set, which can kill momentum pretty badly. So you'll see that with some of my bent rows and later my dips, I'm not necessarily doing every rep that I can all the time. I have to say that these long pause bench presses really did do their job. My chest and triceps felt really pumped, and I felt like I got a ton of relevant skill practice for the main variation of the bench press. I'm really excited to see the benefits of getting stronger at these again, as I feel it will really pay off. The lesson or takeaway from this that I think should be relevant to a lot of people is that every overloading session doesn't necessarily need to be overloaded through intensity, and that you shouldn't be afraid to use variation when and where it offers unique benefits. Remember that with any main lift, though, you'll probably see the best carryover from variations if it's 1 to at most probably 2 degrees of separation. That is, from pure specificity. So a close grip Larson bench would be expected to have pretty good carryover to your bench, as would a Swiss bar or tempo bench, as they are all 1 to 2 degrees of separation away. However, if you were to do a wordy variation like a Swiss bar tempo close grip Larson press, I would be much more skeptical as to its direct carryover to the main lift beyond mere muscular hypertrophy. Speaking of specificity and hypertrophy, for the past several months I was doing a lot of bent rows using a wide grip with the pinkies on the rings of the barbell, and I worked up to using 120 pounds for 8 to 12 reps, which is around what my previous narrow grip barbell row was. Needless to say, when I loaded up these narrow grip bent rows for this session, I was feeling really quite a bit stronger. Despite lacking practice with the variation, paradoxically, when I was doing the wide grip rows, I did not really feel my upper traps or my mid back very much, even though they still grew really well from them. Now that I'm back to the narrow grip rows, I can feel the stretch and the contraction on the mid back very, very well. And this makes me excited to see what kind of mid back gains that I'll be able to make in the next several months. Hopefully I can pile on some extra plates and really make my back resemble a mountain. You'll notice that I am cheating these slightly by using the momentum of extending my spine on the concentric, and that's intentional. I'm trying to use these rows to build up the traps, lats, and rhomboids, yes, but also the erectors. And that little bit of sway actually allows me to experience better tension and pump in my other pulling muscles as well. Don't get me wrong, I do love the perfectly strict rows, but I'm really trying to use these as a mid-back and erector overload movement. I think that after so much time and focus, my mid-back is starting to get to a state where it isn't as obviously a glaring weak point as it once was, and I'm excited to try and make it into a genuine strong point, as it will not only be very aesthetic, but also beneficial to all of my lifts for strength, especially my squat, bench, and deadlift. On the last set of rows, I decided to take my shirt off for the rest of the workout, because I knew I would be either standing or floating for the rest of the session, so I didn't have to worry about slipping around on a bench. And I'm really proud of how far my physique has come. I'm really starting to look like I properly lift, you know. There's still obviously a lot of work to be done. Current weak points on my radar include the side delts, the neck, and the upper traps, but from the view in that last set of bent rows, you could see my calves looking meaty, my arms, the rear and front delts, even the chest is looking big. And the current weak points on my physique do suggest that at some point I'll have to give some extra love and attention to the overhead press and to the conventional deadlift, as I've essentially just been never giving them due diligence for several years now. I will say though that on my off days I am isolating neck extension, so I hope some of the neck extensor and upper trap gains will come through in the medium term. Here I'm doing a dip and curl superset to blast my arms, and as you can see through my dip technique that I'm doing them more or less like I described in my recent video, really focusing on getting a lot of elbow bend, staying very upright, extending the chest best I can, pausing even just briefly at the top and the bottom. And I think that a really good cue, if you want to use these to build your chest and your triceps, but especially your triceps, is to cue your torso as though you were setting up for a high bar squat, setting your ribs down to brace your core, but pushing the chest up to extend the thoracic spine, and just generally keeping torso angle change to only what is needed to complete the lift. I cannot get over how much I like deep dips as a general upper body builder, because they just have so many amazing qualities, like training all the involved muscles in a lengthened position, which is not only great for hypertrophy, but it also prepares those tissues to undergo large ranges of motion and thus can make you less susceptible to strains. I have said before, and I will say again, that if I do not include either a dip or a dumbbell fly in my program, my pecs tend to get tweaky, and I credit the fact that I don't get tweaky to the benefits that I derive from these. The dips also have really good carryover to relative strength and body weight strength, so they make a really good complement to training body weight skills like handstands. Speaking of handstands, I am including the wall supported handstand in my routine, which I do on days 1 and 3 of my full body routine. I know that this is not enough practice to learn the freestanding handstand. However, I'm intrigued and doing these mostly for the benefits provided by the handstand movement pattern, in particular for scapular strength and overhead mobility. As you press your scapula into elevation and upward rotation while you are doing like a handstand movement pattern. And this has the side benefit of greatly strengthening the rotator cuff, which I don't think is a bad place to have a surplus of strength, just due to the role that a strong rotator cuff plays in shoulder stability and keeping the shoulders happy and healthy. And with the pinwheel curls, I'm making sure to keep an upward pressure on my wrist and trying to tilt my wrist back so that it can almost try and reach for my bicep at the top of the curl. And this has the benefit not only of strengthening the wrist, but also stabilizing it, which can help reduce risk of overuse injury in the wrist from curling like this. Tilting the wrist back also helps better engage the inner forearm and the brachioradialis and the upper arm. I really like the pinwheel style of curl for these because I can feel Like I can pull my hand close to my body, which allows me not only to feel very stable, but also like I am able to exert a lot of force into my curls. You can see I'm keeping it pretty close to my body, sort of going up and across my chest. And there's like this particular pressure. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels like an incredibly strong position. Probably some arm wrestler would be able to tell you why that it does feel like such a strong position in the first place. In a moment here, I'm going to show the lunges that I did this session. I'll probably be leaving the leg training out of future videos as it isn't really within the scope of the series. However, due to the novelty of the full body day, I thought I'd show them off. I'm doing them in an alternating reverse lunge style, trying to keep very upright, drive the knee over the toe, get as much quad as possible. No matter what I do, though, these will always be an excellent glute and adductor exercise, just due to the nature of putting most of the weight through one foot and needing to stabilize it, as well as going under a lot of hip flexion and extension. The work capacity really is what killed me on these. When I started my squat block 12 weeks ago, I was pretty in shape work capacity wise, doing lots of sets of 10 on the squat, but doing sets of 6 and 4 later in that block, I think reduced my work capacity quite a bit. Like after these lunges, I was like sweating like crazy. I did feel tired, but I was notably not out of breath. So that's how I know it's a work capacity, not necessarily a cardio issue. I finished the session up with some single arm dumbbell rows from our back work, and then I closed up with some GHD sit-up AMRAPs, which I didn't record. Overall, I'm pretty optimistic going into this training block of full body, and I'm hoping to see some pretty good gains in my bench, my upper body size, and my work capacity. I hope you enjoyed the video, maybe even learned or thought about something interesting or neat. So please take care, train hard, and have a great day.